How we doing?
Good. What have you seen? I don't know how much you followed DJ at Clemson, but what have you seen out of him this year?
I didn't follow him very much at Clemson just because we didn't play Clemson. Obviously, we know very, very well of him because he was at Bosco and tremendous quarterback. I think Jonathan's done a really good job in terms of putting him in really good situations. He's big, he's strong, he's physical. I think he's their third leading rusher also, so he can beat you. And they have some design quarterback runs because he's a big guy to take down, and he's got good speed. But I think he's got a good grasp of what they're doing offensively. It's more of a pro-style scheme in what Jonathan does there. They're going to run the ball, they're going to play action, and I think he's got a real good feel for that offense. And so he's got our full attention in terms of going up there and having to defend them. He's a huge part of it.
How do you prepare specifically for bringing down a guy that size at quarterback? Is that something you try to scout out here, or?
I mean, we do tackling drills every day, but you're not going to simulate that. We don't have anybody on our team that's, unless you put a tight end at quarterback, because he's basically built like a tight end.
So back there.
He's even bigger than Colson, so he's. Maybe we can go to the basketball team and grab a couple of mixed power forwards, because that's what he reminds me of. He's a Cam Newton type guy, and it's going to take more than one guy. I think it's are we specific in terms of our containment of the quarterback and what gaps are we not losing any gaps on him, and then making sure that there's multiple guys trying to take him down. But he's a gang tackle type of quarterback because of his size.
When you looked at their film, was there anything that any consistent themes when it came to what Cal and Washington State were able to do against their defense?
Different deals. The Washington State game was a whole bunch of Cam Ward, and they threw the ball, outstanding in that game. And their receivers, Kelly and Williams, made some huge plays. There were some times when, give Oregon State credit, they're right there, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, did he just catch that? There was a one-handed grab, I think it was Kelly, and it was an unbelievable ball by Ward, but they couldn't have been put in anywhere else, and Kelly reaches out with one hand and makes an unbelievable catch. That's one of those where you just kind of tip your cap to Washington State on that play, and that's what we were nervous of in terms of going into the Washington State game is that connection between Cam and those guys. And then in the Cal game, they seemed like they ran the ball a little bit different, so schematically it wasn't similar. It was more throwing in the Washington State game and a little bit more running in the Cal game.
What do you see generally out of their defense?
They're aggressive and attacking. They've kind of had the same system for a little bit. Coach Bray does such a really good job with it. They're very, very sound. Really on first and second down, and then on third down they're as exotic as they come with their blitz packages, and they're bringing guys from all over. Sometimes it seems like they got 12 guys on the field on defense on third down, because it's you're like, where did that guy come from? So I think they're really well coached. I think they truly understand how to fit and who works off of who in that defense, and they've run a version of it since Jonathan's been there, so I think they're comfortable in it. And then I think since they made the switch to Coach Bray as the coordinator, I think they've really kind of upped their level. But it's, it starts up front. They're really physical in the front four. Two outstanding linebackers. And then they mix and match coverages really well on the back end to make sure that, you can't get honed in and say, hey, they're just going to be in this coverage. You're going to be in multiple coverages, and they play them all really well.
When you're game planning, when you have a freshman quarterback and you're game planning against a defense, are you expecting them to do anything a little bit more against a freshman than they would in their usual game plans? Are they blitzing more or anything like that?
I mean, you always try to prepare for what they do. I think sometimes we can chase ghosts. I would do this. If I was them, I would do this. But I also think you have to look at what they do on film. But every team usually has a new wrinkle each week that you got to be prepared for. We talk about it all the time, the in-game. All right, they're doing a little bit more of this, or all right, that's new. We got to see that. So I would expect there's going to be something new that we haven't seen yet. They got a pretty expansive package, so they can do a lot of different things. But I also don't think you can drive yourself crazy of trying to guess what they're going to do. For us, we're very analytical. It's based upon what the tape that we have. And now we've broken down every game they played last year. We've broken down every game they played this year. We've looked at games since Coach Bray's been the coordinator to see if there's anything's in there, and we've studied all of that. That being said, you still got to play football. So Our job is to gather all the information and then process it and then feed it to our players in a manner where they can understand it.
When it comes to the offensive line, what are some of the, I guess, more technical things that comes with going up against a pass rush and just protecting Dante?
Well, it's everybody. I think pass protection it takes the 5 offensive linemen. It takes the running back. It takes the tight end at times if he's involved in the protection, and then it takes the quarterback having an understanding of the protection in terms of where we are. There may be a protection where we can block these 6, but the 7th player, it could be unblocked. If he comes, it's a quarterback's responsibility to get it out. There's other times where we have everybody blocked, at least pre-snap in terms of assignment. Then it comes down to the technical aspect of things is, how sound am I in my technique and my fundamentals compared to the pass rusher and his technique and his fundamentals. So it turns into a lot of one-on-one battles at times, and who can win the one-on-one battles. Is it an offensive win or is it a defensive win? And I think that's what all the defensive coaches are trying to do. They're trying to get mismatches. Can you get a lesser player on a good player, or are we smart enough to figure out, hey, we need to move the protection towards this guy because he's a dynamic pass rusher. So I think everybody's trying to do the same things, but the game itself, once it's the post snap, it comes down to fundamentals, and who's fundamentally in technique is better on that particular play. Is it the offensive player or is it the defensive player?
The communication on the offensive line was a big conversation after Utah, but did you see improvement against Washington State last week?
Yeah, I did. I thought we played better. Obviously I think we ran 60, 58, 59 snaps in the Utah game. We ran 98, 99 snaps in the Washington State game. I think a few times in the Washington State game we hurt ourselves. They were more what we call SIW, self-inflicted wounds. But I think that group is growing as a group. When you lose 3 guys that are all NFL players, Johnny Gaines, who was here yesterday visiting, Neil Maffey was playing for the Patriots, and Raekwon O'Neal was playing for Seattle. You had 3 NFL players on that offensive line last year. Garrett's back and Duke's back, and then the other guys are starting. We're almost halfway through the season. You get game 6 out of a 12-game season. They're starting to get they get their legs underneath them. They got an understanding. They understand who they're working with. We've been fortunate because we've been able to keep the same kind of rotation. And we're playing 7 or 8 guys in there, and they're all getting more comfortable and understanding each other. And so, that's all part of the process of growing those guys.
And is that communication piece? Is that a harder thing to accomplish on the road? Given the raucous environments and everything.
Yeah, we try not to pay attention to the road, and we have a systems in place where, you gotta be able to handle that. You can't say. You also don't want to do something at home that you don't do, or do something away that you don't do at home. So it's loud. Now, Racer Stadium is a really, really loud place to play. Eccles Stadium is a really, really loud place to play. But we would hope that you could communicate with the guy standing next to you. So.
Earlier you mentioned Oregon State's front 4. Anyone in particular present a particular matchup problem?
Yeah, both their defensive ends I think are outstanding. And I think obviously they can generate individual mismatches, and the way they play and how hard they play, I think, is something that we have to be prepared for in terms of defending them. But they blitz so many different people. I think their linebackers are really good pass rushers. I think because they blitz so much, they get a lot of experience in terms of rushing the passer. So, there's more than just one guy we got to concentrate on this defense.
Thanks, Chip.
All right, guys. Thank you.